Government corruption has never been more prevalent or caused more harm. It's why extremism is on the rise. It's why the financial gap between the haves and have-nots has never been wider. And it's why our planet is at risk of an extinction level tragedy. That's why I need your help to keep exposing the truth about the rot on both sides of the aisle. Become a supporter or a friend of the show today by clicking on the coffee link in the description box below. Friends of the show join me on a Zoom hangout once a month, and you guys can ask me any questions you want, and I can get to know you better. But the most important reason to help is to keep the show alive. Together, we can and will save our country and our planet. Thanks in advance and enjoy the show. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the show. So there's some interesting midterm election news and polling data that I wanted to share with all of you. You guys are probably aware of the primary results from last week's elections on Tuesday. Of course, many of Donald Trump's election deniers won the Republican nominations. And we discovered that almost 75,000 Floridians don't actually care about sex trafficking. They don't even care about having sex with minors because Matt Gaetz easily won his primary election. But there's still reason to hope. So I wanted to share that with you because Democrats continue to outperform in special elections, meaning that they're performing better than what Biden did in their districts. The New York 19th district special election that was held last Tuesday was the perfect example. And experts are calling this a bellwether for these midterm elections coming up in November because everyone expected the Republican to win. And they're saying, if you can't win in that district, you are in trouble. Instead, Democrat Pat Ryan received over 51% of the vote. Now, because it's a special election, he's only going to hold that seat for a short period, and then there's going to be a new election in that area. So, he's not going to hold it long term, but still, he won. Now, there's many reasons for this, but most people believe that this is abortion ban backlash. Since the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe versus Wade, women have been registering to vote at a much higher pace. And Republicans are starting to realize that, in the words of Job from Arrested Development, they've made a terrible mistake. Take, for instance, Trump election denier Blake Masters. He is running for the U.S. Senate in Arizona, and he was proudly proclaiming that he was this hardcore extremist on the issue of abortion. His website actually had said that he supported a federal personhood law, meaning that under federal law, from the time of conception, that zygote is a person. It is entitled to all of the same rights as a living, breathing, walking being. Well, now he's backpedaling. He is scrubbing his website and he's trying to pretend that, oh no, I'm this reasonable, moderate kind of guy when it comes to controlling women's bodies. You know why? Because even a Fox News poll showed that Masters is down by 8 points in his race against Democrat Mark Kelly. That same poll also revealed that 10% of Republican voters are backing Kelly over Masters. And an average of numerous polls show that Kelly has an 8.3 lead over this radical extremist Republican. On top of that, it was reported last week that a Senate Republican super PAC canceled almost $8 million in ads in Arizona. And it's not like, oh, he's up in the polls, he's ahead, so, he doesn't need our help. We're just going to move this money elsewhere. No, the president of the PAC actually admitted that they've had, quote, an unexpected expense in Ohio. You know what that is? That unexpected expense is the race between GOP candidate J.D. Vance and Democrat Tim Ryan, which should never be an issue. Everyone has been saying, oh, Ohio is going to be a cakewalk. This is going to be so easy. If, J.D. Vance will run away with this thing. Everyone said whoever wins in the primary as a Republican is going to get that seat because it's just a given in Ohio that a Republican is going to win. But Vance opened up his mouth and he started spouting out this typical extremist Retrumplican bullshit Like, the fact that he believes that women should have to stay in violent, abusive marriages. Yeah, he actually said that. I'm thinking someone should check on his wife. So now they're having to move money to that area, which they should never have to worry about. And then there's more potentially bad news for Republicans because a majority of generic ballots, which just flat out ask, who would you rather have in charge? Those generic ballots show that the majority of voters want Democrats in charge of Congress. Some say Republicans, but the majority say Democrats. Also, as I shared recently, GOP fundraising is down. Trump is taking in a lot of money, but Republicans in general are hurting for cash, and Trump is not sharing with them. And according to the Daily Beast, the Democratic Senate candidates have spent 5 times more than their GOP opponents on Facebook and Google. Now, of course, ads don't equate to votes, but Republicans know they're in trouble. It's clear because even Republican Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell seems to be trying to temper expectations. That signals that their own internal polling is not good. And Republican lawmakers and Trump allies are already coming up with excuses for why they're going to lose in November. That's not something you do if you believe there's going to be a red wave. You've got people out there like Steve Bannon, saying, oh, well, the Democrats are stealing this race. Democrats are rigging the November election. You haven't even lost yet, guy. And Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson has been trailing in the polls against his Democratic challenger. So now he's making the rounds on right-wing media, and he's claiming that the FBI is out to get him. The FBI is filled with mostly conservatives. And here's Johnson alleging that the FBI is purposely leaking information to the press to try to make him look like a Russian propagandist. I mean, if the shoe fits, right? But what gives me a lot of hope is that right on cue, Trumplicans rallied to defend the indefensible once again. Trump's poll numbers have shot up since the FBI search at Mar-a-Lago, and they're all jumping on board. They're all talking about how he's done nothing wrong, and they're trying to compare it to Hillary Clinton, which was like night and day. And I am not a Hillary Clinton fan, but even I know there is no comparison there between what she did and what he did. And here's why I say that's good news. I think that there are a lot of honest and ethical conservatives out there still. And they had forgotten just how heinous Trump is because he was no longer on Twitter, right? He was no longer on other well-trafficked social media sites. He was kind of out of the news. So it was easy for people to forget how crazy he is and how much chaos he causes. It's like when you break up with someone and then you start to forget why you wanted to push them off of a high-rise building. You remember only the good times, and then you spend some time with them again and you're like, oh yeah, yeah, this is why I hate you. I remember. So, it's good to remind everyone why we don't want the king of chaos back in charge. And a new USA Today Ipsos poll demonstrates that many Trump supporters understand that he's bad for the party. They're out there touting the fact that 59% of Republican respondents said that Trump should be the nominee in 2024. But you look at the flip side, 41% said no, we need to go in a different direction. And then in that same poll, Trump received an 81% favorability rating, and 82% of Republicans said, oh, we think that he could still win in 2024. So that doesn't make sense, right? If you think he can win, then why are you saying no, he shouldn't run again? So what that tells me is that even though the vast majority of Republicans like him, they know he has issues. And you add those numbers, the ones that don't want him to run, to the number of independents and almost 100% of Democrats who loathe him, and it paints a very grim picture for Trump. And if the party continues to support his lunacy, his lies, his alleged criminal actions, they're going to pay the price in elections. And you also have to ask yourself, how many of those Republicans are just saying what they want the media to report, when in reality, they don't really think that he can win. But they don't want to give the media the satisfaction of saying, yeah, I think that he probably will lose. You got to figure there's a good percentage of those in there as well. So anyway, guys, when and if I hear more, I will let you know. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.